Let me drop that down. Because you're not wearing a shirt right now. Oh, well. Nice tank top, bra, swimsuit. I don't know, whatever you're wearing. Anyway, it's time for the weekly news recap for the 5th to the 11th of September 2022. So, we'll jump into it here. So there were two showcases this week. Disney had their D23. It's still currently ongoing, where they're showing off a bunch of Marvel, Star Wars, all etc., etc. But there was also a video game showcase that they did as well. So we'll just go through it here. So we had Midnight Suns that was... Go away, Kotaku. That was delayed several times. It was then postponed with no release date coming up. And now it's finally decided, sure, we'll give them a release date. Why not? So Marvel Midnight Suns is now coming out in December. December 2nd, I think, is the release date, and it was just a reminder that it exists. Marvel Midnight Suns is effectively XCOM. It's effectively XCOM with Marvel characters. Focusing mostly on their little used kind of demons and hell sort of thing. So you'll be fighting like denizens of hell and that sort of thing. They have it done, yeah, December 2nd is when it'll be out. And then they also showed off also Marvel's Midnight Suns, where they're showing off what are going to be a bunch of prequel shorts that will be debuting on probably Disney Plus, I imagine. Maybe over on YouTube. But like, this is a really cool art style, and I would love like a proper long-running cartoon series done like this. You know, it would be great, but no, it doesn't look like we're going to get it, but we are going to get a kind of web series sort of thing for this on the run-up to the game. I'm kind of curious why it was... Like, I'm not curious why it was delayed. Like, games get delayed usually because they either need to firm up revenue for particular quarters, or... you know, it needed time to be polished. It's usually one or the other. It's why they didn't give a release date is kind of the more interesting one. But yeah, can we get like a proper cartoon that's like this and not just a bunch of web tunes, basically? Some more stuff about Avatar, but nobody cares, so I'm going to skip that. Lego Star Wars is getting some more DLC, again. Okay. Marvel Snap is basically Hearthstone with Marvel characters. Disney Illusion Island is a co-op platformer. Go full screen, please. It kind of has... It's got a little bit of a Rayman vibe to it, and then it's got a little bit of Speedrunners, the game, to it as well. It's using the art style from the current Mickey Mouse cartoon. Presumably it's set in the same general universe as that. As you can see, it's fairly pulled out. It definitely has a bit of the Rayman kind of floatiness to it. And I'm just saying Speedrunners mostly because it's got the color trails, and the really pulled out camera just kind of makes it look like it's a Speedrunners game. It doesn't say how many people can play at once. Like, it does look like it's 4-player co-op. Like, the older Nintendo platformers were very good. Like, the Nintendo and Disney platformers, shall we say, the ones from the SNES Famicom times. If that lives up to that kind of thing, great. Dunno when, though. TBD. Return to Monkey Island, just reminding you that it's coming out. It's coming out in 2 weeks. Disney Dreamlight Valley was released this week. It is technically in early access kind of thing, early access beta, although it can more or less be considered a full release, to be honest. It also has the worst walk and run cycle of a character I've ever seen, but whatever. That's not true. I've seen worse, but it's pretty bad. This update was basically just saying, hey, we're going to add Toy Story stuff soon. That's it. So Disney Dreamlight Valley can kind of be considered Animal Crossing, but with a Disney coat on it, pretty much. Can we have the shit run animation? I want to see the shit run animation before we leave. There it is. God, it's so bad. I hate it. I hate it so much. Anyway, moving on. Disney Speedstorm is Disney Mario Kart. Disney Kart, basically. Disney Mirrorverse is going to be some kind of mobile RPG thing. It was all CG, and you're going to play the villains, and that's about it. I do like this design for Hades, though. It's pretty cool. Well, maybe not the shoulder pads, but the rest of it, like giving him a Greek armor look to him, is really nice. Marvel Strike Force is continuing to be a thing. It's a mobile RPG thing. And then we have the Black Panther Captain America game. So this is what Amy Hennig has been working on for a very long time. You may know her as the writer for the original Uncharted games before the Druckmanns took over, and she was pushed out of Naughty Dog. And then she's been kind of floating around for a good while. She was on Star Wars for a bit until that got cancelled. She was on something else that also got cancelled, I forget what. And then now she's on Captain America and Black Panther. And it's a game that's allegedly set during World War II, where you will play as Captain America, Black Panther, presumably T'Challa's dad, maybe his granddad, something like that, and two other unnamed characters, but it looks like one of them is one of the Royal Guard from Wakanda, and one of them I think is probably just a World War II soldier, maybe Bucky Barnes. He wouldn't have been Winter Soldier at this point. There's no gameplay. There's nothing else about it, so we don't really know what the whole game is about. I imagine it will follow the same kind of action-adventure type thing that Uncharted is doing. It has been mentioned that it is not a co-op game, so that you will essentially just be swapping between the characters, whether that's per chapter, whether it's something on the fly that you do. Again, don't know. We don't know a whole lot about what's happening in this game. This is all we have to go on it so far. We'll see. Amy Hennig does good writing, and I do like games that she's attached to, usually, particularly since Legacy of Kain, basically. Aliens Dark Descent, this is the same trailer we saw a good while ago. This is, again, XCOM, but Aliens. And also, did you know Disney owned Aliens? Because I forgot. I forgot they owned it. Marvel World of Heroes is Pokemon Go, but Marvel. And then Tron Identity, this is again more of just a tone setting video. This is going to be a choose your own adventure thing from Bithell Games. So you may know Bithell from Thomas Was Alone, John Wick Hex, and Vertigo. Was it called? No. Volume? It's a stealth game that begins with a V. I think it's Volume. Forget? I think it's Volume. Hang on, is it here? Yeah, it is Volume. Good game. Anyway, Tron, if you forgot, Disney apparently has not forgotten about Tron, so maybe we'll see some of that too. And that was about it. So obviously their big announcement was the Black Panther Captain America game, but we don't know a whole lot about it. We don't know when it's coming out. We don't really even necessarily know what kind of game it's going to be. I'm assuming action adventure, like an Uncharted type, is what I'm assuming it's going to play as. The other showcase then was Ubisoft Forward. Now, reminder, Ubisoft is still, under allegations of sexual harassment, toxic workplace, unfair dismissal, and so on and so forth. And we will be talking a bit more about that in the industry bullshit section. So do keep that in mind. So we're going to skip a couple of things because most of it is kind of boring. And we're just going to get to the Assassin's Creed bit, more or less. So some Castlevania characters are going to be going to Brawlhalla. The Crew 2 is getting some more tracks. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope, the Mario and Rabbids sequel, which is XCOM, but Mario this time, had a bit of a gameplay sequel. Not gameplay, had a gameplay section. And they'll be adding Rayman to the lineup as well. Skull and Bones has had its name changed to Skull and Bones. It's replaced the ampersand with the word and it's coming out in November, apparently. Riders Republic is going free to play. Tom Clancy's The Division 2 apparently is still going. I didn't think anybody was even playing the game anymore, but okay. And there are 2 other Division games coming. There's a multiplayer shooter on the way and a mobile title. There's also a Rainbow Six mobile title on the way. Ubisoft are going to be partnering with Netflix for a couple of games that are going to be exclusive to Netflix. It's going to be Mighty Quest, which I guess is going to be based on the TV show. There'll be an Assassin's Creed mobile game. There's going to be a live action TV show. And the one that's kind of annoying me is that Valiant Hearts 2 is going to be exclusive to Netflix. That's not fair. don't want to play a fucking game on Netflix. Valiant Hearts is a really well done hand-drawn animation narrative game. The original is Valiant Hearts: The Great War. It takes place during World War One, and it is highlighting a couple of soldiers on the front line trying to make their way back home and what happens to them along the way. Spoilers. It's not a good field time thing. Anyway, some more stuff about Mythic Quest, the actual TV show. Trackmania is going to come to consoles soon. Rocksmith Plus is still a thing that's happening. There's the obligatory Just Dance section where people dance awkwardly at the camera. And then we're into Assassin's Creed shit. So there was a fairly long Assassin's Creed showcase right at the end where they showed off essentially what feels like they're kind of trying to make as many Assassin's Creed types as they can and figure out where they're actually going with the series. Because it's kind of... If you had a look at Assassin's Creed 1 and then had a look at Assassin's Creed Valhalla, you'd be like, what the fuck happened in between? Because they are very, very different games. But anyway, the first one that they showed off was Assassin's Creed Mirage. It doesn't have a gameplay trailer, so, you know, presumably it'll play much like an Assassin's Creed, I think. But what was very interesting about it is that it feels very much... If you hadn't told me, Netflix be damned, Rocksmith 2014 also be damned. So it doesn't work for you. Terrible. Rocksmith Plus, I think, is like a mobile app. But anyway, if you hadn't told me that this character was in Valhalla, I haven't played Valhalla, so I didn't recognize him. If you hadn't told me that, I would have thought that they were just remaking Assassin's Creed 1. Because that's what it felt like. But it's not set in Jerusalem. This one is set in Baghdad. You're going to play Basim, who is apparently in Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I think he's your character's mentor in Valhalla or something. Again, CG trailer, it does look very much like they're going back to the original idea of Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2. 1. To keep it like fairly linear, keep it like mission-based kind of stuff before I went all crazy open world. So it does feel like they're going back to the first Assassin's Creed, which is nice. Again, no gameplay, so we don't exactly know how it's going to play out. But I'd be interested. Like, I haven't been interested in an Assassin's Creed for a very long time. I was interested in Odyssey, but not because it was Assassin's Creed. It was just because it was the Greek myth stuff. Because I haven't played a proper Assassin's Creed since Black Flag. It's been a while. It's been a very long while. Okay, we have Mirage will come out some stage next year. Then some stuff about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Apparently, the game will end at some point. It has been going for quite a while now. To be fair to Ubisoft, they have definitely supported that game. It must make them a lot of money. Then they had so I'm not gonna reveal the shit part about this, but let's have a look at this. So this is Assassin's Creed Jade. It's a code name for it. They haven't given it a full name yet. It's set in ancient China. It looks pretty good so far, right? I mean, if you just take the Assassin's Creed formula and put it in China, cool. Like, there aren't too many games set in ancient China, basically. It's usually if a Western studio decides to do an Asian-based game, they typically go to Japan. So it's pretty rare for you to see a Chinese game. But I'm gonna skip ahead because we want to get to the part that's the big bummer part. Coming soon to mobile. Yeah, get fucked. I'm not playing that shit. So that's a big disappointing thing because it's in a really interesting setting and it's gonna be some mobile piece of shit. This is apparently not the Netflix mobile game. This will be a different mobile game. Oh, yeah, that's right, Hazama. I was like, wow, this looks cool. Play in China, deadly. Coming to mobile, fuck you. Thanks for getting me super hyped on that. Next, the Netflix live action series is being co-developed with the Assassin's Creed team. Fine. The film was as well, by the way, and it didn't turn out particularly great, so I wouldn't get our hopes up too much for that. There was an explanation on what Assassin's Creed Infinity is meant to be, so this was kind of humor of telling an ad to go fuck itself. I don't know. It would be great if they had that old not even a joke. It was a patent that I think it was Sony who had it, or might have been McDonald's who had it. I can't remember whose, but it was a patent that you would have an ad, and the only way to skip the ad would be to say the name of the brand. I was like, I couldn't tell if that was a dystopia joke idea or if a brand had that actual idea of, if you want to skip this ad, you have to shout out the name of it. You just have to shout McDonald's and get it to go away. Ridiculous. So Assassin's Creed Infinity was somewhat leaked earlier in the year. It wasn't particularly clear what it was going to be, but it was generally believed to be the future of the franchise. So we kind of have an idea of what it is now. It is going to be a kind of hub idea for games going forward, in that any game that comes out from now on after Infinity will connect back up into this central area. Again, still not entirely clear. I guess you could probably think of it as like a hub area in an MMO where people can kind of move in and out and then jump into other games. How that would actually function on a console, on a PC, you know, with all their different kind of launchers and stuff, I don't know. Again, it's not particularly clear. But the idea is that Assassin's Creed Infinity will essentially be the launching point for the single-player campaigns. This multiplayer thing that they're going to plan, they're still in experimentation on, and the actual meta story of Assassin's Creed, the whole like modern-day story bit that they just ignored for however long they've ignored it for now. That's kind of the idea of Assassin's Creed Infinity. I guess we'll need for some of the games to come out and see how it actually works to know more about it. But speaking of, so 2 games they have earmarked for the Assassin's Creed Infinity platform hub thing. So one of them is Assassin's Creed Red, or Assassin's Creed Code Red, that you could kind of think as a different way or read it on a different level, as this is Ubisoft's also Code Red, in that they have absolutely smashed the emergency glass and have decided to make an Assassin's Creed Japan. You know, Assassin's Creed Ninja. This is Square Enix pulling the emergency brake on Final Fantasy VII Remake. You know, we're losing money, quick. Smash glass in case of emergency. Assassin's Creed Japan. Final Fantasy VII Remake, etc. The Resident Evil 2 Remake, and so on. The things that practically everyone who's a fan of the series have been asking for, you know, and they just put it off forever because they know it'll make them a shit ton of money, so they wait. Anyway, there'll be an Assassin's Creed Japan at some point. This one is not on mobile, allegedly. Citation needed, but apparently it will be a proper continuation of Odyssey Origins Valhalla. It'll be that kind of game. It'll be their kind of open world thing, so it'll be a bit Ghost of shit disappointing. It's not on mobile. It'll be a bit it'll be a bit like that, the open world direction they've gone in, whereas Mirage is going back to the roots of the game. And then a kind of interesting one that we don't know too much about is Assassin's Creed codename Hex, or Hexy as they're saying it, which has a bit of a horror vibe to it. Like, there's definitely a lot of Blair Witch symbolism here. Now, it wasn't mentioned in the showcase, but there have been like leaks and rumors about it that it is based in the Holy Roman Empire. What that has to do with the Blair Witch, I don't know. I guess I need to read up on my witches and the Holy Roman Empire business, but maybe it's like the purge of paganism and so on. It's an interesting direction for it to go in, and it seems like it won't be either the open world Odyssey type, and it won't be the like original Assassin's Creed 1 type of game. It'll be some other new kind of Assassin's Creed. Cool. Like, it's got like a horror Assassin's Creed would be very, very interesting. I would like to see what they do with it. And then the last thing they mentioned was the multiplayer, is that they are trying to think, how can we bring multiplayer back in? Now, I don't play multiplayer because I don't particularly enjoy random people annoying me on my days off and when I'm trying to relax. But people who have played the Assassin's Creed multiplayer think it was very good. And there isn't too much like it anymore. So if they can do something to bring that back in, cool. But it wouldn't be particularly interesting to me. Elsewhere, CD Projekt Red had their own kind of, hey, remember Cyberpunk? It's good now, or stable now at least, and hey, here's some DLC for you. That's kind of it. There'll be some DLC for Cyberpunk. If you haven't played it yet, I imagine all of this DLC won't make any sense to you whatsoever. I haven't played it. I don't know what's going on. Looks nice. But other than that, I don't know. It is on trial at the moment. I might, like, it's a free trial. I might as well give it a shot anyway. Other mentions in the CD Projekt Red showcase thing is the Cyberpunk Netflix show will have some connection to the game as well, and they are ditching previous gen, so PS4, Xbox One won't be getting this DLC and won't be getting any more updates. So they finally decided, you know what? It turns out the game doesn't run very well on those platforms, so how about we just don't support it anymore. So the patch or update that came out last week is the last one that the PS4 and Xbox One are getting. From then on, it'll be they're just focusing on PC, PS5, and Series. And then, as I have been doing for the last while, the free Epic game this week is 100 Days Winemaking Simulator. So this is make your own wine. And I think it's actually fairly in-depth. It's like a farming sim kind of thing, but wine. And you can, like, what grapes go in, what time do you harvest them at, how long do you leave them in for, what do you add to the bottle, what's the shape of the bottle, and so on. People who are super into wine, I guess, maybe it'll be interesting to them. This is particularly interesting to me, but okay. Well, whatever. Those are some of the games that are coming up soon-ish, and some of them are a very, very long while away. But what can you play right now? Well, you can play Steel Rising, which I did last week. We played Steel Rising on Thursday. Steel Rising is a Souls-like, Sekiro-like game, but it's set during the French Revolution. King Louis has effectively stomped out the French Revolution pretty much by using this army of automats, this army of robots to just quash the citizen revolt. You are playing as Aegis, who is also a robot, but is ostensibly the bodyguard to Marie Antoinette, the queen, rather. And you've been sent out to be like, hey, what the fuck's going on with the citizenry? Can we maybe do something about that? And also, where's my son? Etc. And that's it. And then a bunch of Sekiro stuff happens. It's okay. I've played a bit of it on Thursday. You can have a look at the VOD if you want. I'm sure it's on the channel somewhere. I enjoyed it for a little bit. I don't quite know how to feel about it. Some of the enemies are a bit of pain in the hole, and a character could do a little bit more damage. That would be nice. But I guess that's all down to the build. But it's got an interesting aesthetic. The robots are kind of... The ones we fought at the beginning, not so much, but some of the later robots that weren't on stream. I played the game a little bit more afterwards. They have some cool designs, so I don't know. I'll play it a little bit more and I'll figure it out. Anyway, that's Steel Rising. Now again, I don't have too much interest in PvP, as I've mentioned, but Splatoon 3 is a big deal. So I thought I would let you guys know Splatoon 3 is out also. Splatoon is a 4v4 arena shooter kind of thing. It's not really a shooter exactly, because what you're trying to do is fill up the map as much as possible with your color. And some of the best ways to do that is to just hang back, don't even attack anybody, just lay down paint everywhere. But obviously a faster way to do it is to make sure the other team can't lay down any paint by taking them out, pretty much. So, people have different strategies. You have one guy who's going around taking out people, another guy who's just going around trying to hide from everybody, but also spreading paint everywhere and so on. So there's a fair bit of strategy to it, and Splatoon 3 also has a single-player campaign as well. So you can check that out if you want. As you can see, it's getting some pretty good reviews. The game I mentioned a while ago, the Tomorrow Children, Phoenix Edition. So the Tomorrow Children is an online collaborative management game, kind of. So you're sent into this void where humanity was kind of stashed while this whole apocalypse thing was happening. So we were all kind of sent in here. And you have now been sent back in to rescue them and like rebuild society kind of thing. But you do it collaboratively with everyone else who's playing online at the same time. There is this kind of shared area that you can load into, and a bunch of other people will share your same area, and you can build it up and build things, go about doing different tasks and so on. With the Phoenix Edition, though, you can play it entirely solo, and you will just have bots that will effectively just be giving the impression of you being online with a collaborative community, but without having to actually engage with that community, without the grief and so on and so forth. So yeah, that's that. If you're interested in that, it had a fairly small cult following. People who did play it really liked it, but it kind of disappeared for a while because of some IP issues. The developer and the publisher were having a bit of a legal spat, but the developer has now got the IP back, and they've decided to re-release it with this Phoenix Edition and also with this single-player situation. Okay. It is now, unfortunately, time to talk about the worst parts of video games, the video game industry. However, this particular story is a good story in industry bullshit. Anyway, Chucklefish raises employees' wages in response to rising cost of living. So the London-based Wargroup developer has increased the salary of the studio. So they have increased by 4k. So that's £4,000 sterling, which is around $4,600 US. And that's attributed to the rising cost of living in Europe, which has not been going particularly great because we already had the pandemic, and then when we came out of the pandemic, Russia launched a war in Ukraine, which has also cut off our supply of energy for a large part of Europe, and prices of everything is basically just going up constantly. And then there's inflation and so on, so people need money. The guys behind Starbound, respectful indeed. Yeah, Chucklefish have some pretty good... They publish a lot of really good games. Are they Stardew Valley as well? I know Concerned Ape is the developer, but did they publish it or is it somebody else? I don't know. They do. They're good people. Anyway, so they've boosted the pay of all their employees. They had actually boosted it already in April. It had gone up by 10%, and they raised it even further now, mostly to combat cost of living, inflation rates, and so on. The community manager says, I only share this as a humble-ish brag, but mostly because I've seen it work. I know it's possible, and I know we don't need to grind ourselves into dust to create art. So yes, your CEO does not need to make 400 times what the lowest paid employee makes for you to make a video game. We're looking at you, Bobby. We're looking at you. And also, Chucklefish have also implemented a 4-day work week. They're not the only developer publisher to do that, but it's typically the smaller teams that can do that kind of thing. Stardew Valley is self-published. Okay. I thought Chucklefish had some connection to them. I guess they don't. This is more of a follow-on from previous story in that Square Enix sold off all of their Western studios. So they sold off Crystal Dynamics, they sold off Eidos Montreal, and they sold off Square Enix Montreal. We don't know what Square Enix Montreal is going to be called. Presumably they will change their name to something. But now Crystal Dynamics and Eidos Montreal have taken control of the IPs that were attributed to them. So Crystal Dynamics have now got Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain. Can I please have a Legacy of Kain game, please? Even if you have to reboot it, that's fine. I'd rather a sequel, but if you have to reboot it, okay. Just HD remaster of the original one without tank controls. And Eidos Montreal have taken control of the Deus Ex and Thief IP. So whether we'll see sequels about them, I don't know. The next Tomb Raider is in development currently, running on Unreal Engine 5. They did mention that a good while ago. A tweet that went out, we are excited to inform you that Crystal Dynamics has taken control of several game franchises, including Tomb Raider and Legacy of Kain. So it's not just those IPs, it's the other ones that they've also had, but they're definitely their two biggest. And similarly, Eidos Montreal have Deus Ex and Thief. That's probably their two biggest. What Square Enix Montreal is going to happen to them, don't know. They might just be absorbed. We'll see. Embracer did say, and they have said it a couple of times, that they are mostly interested in doing sequels, remakes, remasters, spin-offs of the IP that already exists. They're not particularly interested in investing in new IP. So we might start seeing Deus Ex again. That would be great. Thief. Redemption arc for Thief. That would be good. More Legacy of Kain. I am a bit wary of a Legacy of Kain without Amy Hennig, but maybe they can entice her back to it. I don't know. But yeah, good stuff. Hopefully we'll see more about that. Okay, all the good news is over now. It's back to bad news. Huge speedrunning charity Games Done Quick drops Florida event because it is not a safe place for our community. So this is mostly highlighting. So Summer Games Done Quick, July, August, I think it was July. First time it was back in person since the pandemic. So they had been just doing online only events for a good while there. First time back was Summer Games Done Quick this year. Awesome Games Done Quick, which is typically done January, February, was meant to again be their first time back. And they had booked in a hotel in Florida to do it, big conference area, big hotel where they do all their speedruns. But the issue being is that Florida's kind of very shit right now with their Florida gets shit on again, of course. We do not believe Florida is a safe place for our community, so this is mostly pointing towards their policies towards COVID and their policies towards LGBTQ people, with their don't say gay bill and stuff like that. So yeah, it's not going particularly great. This is a statement from AGDQ. While we would love to return in person, we've determined that to provide a safe and welcoming event to all, it was best that we move away from our originally planned location in Florida. Given the state's continued disregard for COVID-19's dangers, including anti-mandate vaccination policies and an increased aggression towards LGBTQ+ individuals, including the law colloquially known as Don't Say Gay, we do not believe it is a safe place for our community at this time. So it's going to go back to online. They are unfortunately going to have to eat the cost of it, because the cost of relocating to another hotel and also buying out the contract that they signed to do this as well is going to be way too expensive. They're pretty much just going to have to eat the contract, let it just ride out, and just not use the space. Is pretty much what's going to happen. So it's a pretty big financial hit to them. That is like a charity, they don't make a whole lot exactly. They just make enough to cover their costs. So hopefully it doesn't take too much of a dent, because it's mostly like a hobby thing. For vast majority of the runners have day jobs. It's not their job to do speedrunning. I do agree with them. Yeah, it is the right move to make. It's just unfortunate that it's, it would have been nice to have another in-person event, because Summer Games Done Quick was really good back for in-person. People were very excited to be back in the hall with everybody being able to hear crowd behind them and so on. So it's a shame, but consequences. Actions have consequences and so on. Okay, so ABetterUbisoft had released a statement just before Ubi Forward, which was the Assassin's Creed event that we were talking about. So basically, it's been a year since they launched their campaign about how Ubisoft is not particularly a safe place to work because they don't treat women very well. There's a giant pay disparity. They promote abusers and so on. They're very protective of their upper level staff. And so on. So some issues that they've kind of highlighted, and some positive steps, like some abusers were fired, some were let go, HR has been rejigged, and so on. But other issues are that the most serious abusers weren't. They were promoted or just moved to another studio and so on. Individuals directly responsible for dismissing complaints and protecting abusers over many years still remain in post today. So some people in HR who are directly responsible for these kind of things still have their job. Some anonymous comments on it. I hate how Eve Gimo blames remote work for our drop in productivity during the pandemic, and not the fact that people were sick, under constant anxiety, had to work while having their children at home, all while the world was falling apart. So if you were working remote during the pandemic, maybe not during the first couple of weeks because people were still kind of hyped to not be in the office and so on, but as it dragged on into the months later, huge anxiety spikes from people working there. It was very difficult to just work in general. It still is, but particularly at the time, and I can't imagine the stress of having to work on these big blockbuster games while also dealing with abusive colleagues as well. Like, yeah, I agree. Here's an idea for management. How about you take all complaints of bullying and intimidation seriously, get rid of all the offenders, and perhaps more devs will feel comfortable about returning to the office. So this is, again, the push to, hey, everybody, come back to the office. We rented out this space. It's costing us a lot of money. Please use it. Anyway, the interviewees firmly believe that known offenders at Ubisoft Studios have not faced proper repercussions and instead are promoted or moved. I believe that whilst global management may not be aware of it as such, on a local level, nothing has been done to prevent the cultures that foster the protection of the best people. The best being in quotes. This is again from an anonymous person. Even when they force abusers to quit, they are still protecting them. From what we know, Serge Haskowet, Michel Ancel, and Maxime Beland. So Maxime Beland was head of HR at the time, and Serge and Michel were both... Serge was a creative director, I think, and Michel Ancel is also a creative director. Many others have not been fired, they simply resigned. They have faced nothing, they just moved away from the issue and did not justify anything. Some of them just find another job elsewhere inside the game industry, which is a very... it's a very police union church thing, you know? Priest, pedophile, just gets moved to another parish. Police officer, abusive police officer is allowed to resign without pay. Sorry, is allowed to resign with pay and then can just move to another location and take another job there. It's not punishment is the issue. No, they can just keep their job. What should really be happening is a blacklisting of them, but whatever. Ubisoft still places its confidence in managers who have proven that they may still be part of the issue. So while some steps have been made and the steps are acknowledged, they just don't feel they're good enough. All of the ABU members interviewed believe unionization is now the best course of action. Yeah. Yeah, because they're kind of demands that they made a year ago or so. One of them was, we want employee representation on the board, and that has not happened. And that probably will never happen unless they get a union representative, basically. 1 year later, and management have completely failed to work with us or meet our 4 key demands, but we do know that our presence is felt, and we believe our campaign has altered the company's course. A rumored high-profile role for one serial abuser never materialized, and more have quietly left the payroll. What keeps us together is the open letter and our 4 key demands. In the process of taking that stand together, we've built a powerful foundation for the future. Huge support network that can collectively push to make Ubisoft a better place to work. So, you know, it hasn't been completely turned around, but hopefully they're moving in the right direction. Okay, so some tone-deaf shit from... I can't believe his name is Matt Booty. And every time I see it, I keep thinking his name is Max Booty, which is even funnier, but whatever. Xbox's Matt Booty dreams of having AI as QA tester. God, I wish I could just not pay people to do work. That'd be great. If only I had some slaves. Anyway, Matt Booty says, or Max, I'm going to call him Max Booty, even though his name is Matt Booty. Anytime he bumps into AI researchers at Microsoft, he's like, hey, can you come up with an AI that is able to replace a human when it comes to testing games? Fuck you. Get fucked. But in a game, you can be ready to ship, and a designer's like, I've got this one little feature, I'm just going to change the color on this one thing, and then it somehow blows up something, and now the first 10 minutes of the game doesn't play. Here's the problem with that reproach. That is a failure in management. If you have a game that is ready to ship, and a designer is like, I want to change this one thing, you tell him to fuck off. It's ready to ship. You had your chance. We'll put it in a patch later. We're going to just push this out now. We're not pushing back. That's called scope creep. You shut that shit down as soon as you hear about it. That is not a tester's problem. That is not a developer's problem. That's not even the designer's problem, really. That is the manager's problem. You tell him, I want to change this one thing, and we're all ready to ship. He has to say, it is his job to say, no. Hopefully employees will be able to take management's responsibility and change the company for the better. They can only do so much as an employee is the issue, because you don't have the power to change those things. Unless they can get promoted, and the issue is that they're not promoting those people. And again, having a union is the way you get around that kind of thing. But anyway, going back to Max and or Matt Booty's suggestion here that this is a failure of project management. This is not an issue with testing. But what he wants to do is he wants to deploy an AI bot to spend all night testing the game, and then in the morning we can get a report. That already exists. That's already a thing that happens. It's called, in mobile development, it's called like Monkey Tester or Random Monkey or something like that. I forget the actual name of it. Basically is you leave a script to run and it will just randomly do button presses on the screen or swipes and gestures and stuff. I'm in mobile development, that's why I know. That's how it runs. There is an equivalent thing in video game development, in other software development, PC platforms, and so on, that you can run a script that will just randomly do things. Or you can run a script to do very specific things. There's automation testing in, again, in mobile development, where you tell it to look for this on the screen, and when you see it, press it. Like, it's the same kind of thing. You could easily do this. You do not need an AI for this kind of thing. I always kind of laugh because people say, the game shipped on Tuesday, but I hear they were fixing bugs on Saturday night. That's crunch. That's also a failure in management, Matt Booty. It sure seems like it's not, you don't want to replace QA with AI. It seems like you want to get better managers, is what this sounds like. Or maybe you want to actually listen to them. Matthew Max Booty. Anyway, obviously completely stupid suggestion, and he has been rightly ridiculed for saying so. Not just by me, by other people as well. So Eve had an interview with Games Industry Biz. It is quite long, and a lot of it is corporate bullshit. But I'm just going to highlight it for you guys. I will put the link in the description. It's fairly lengthy, but it does go into like talking about the sexual harassment shit from 2 years ago, talking about how they're trying to change things, going into Ubisoft, going into the blockchain for some bullshit reason, and why that's a complete failure, and so on and so forth. It's a good article written by James Batchelor for Games Industry Biz. I'm just going to leave it there for you guys to check out. Again, link will be in the description on the VOD, or you can just search that headline right now if you really want to. But yeah, that is for your reading. That's your homework for next week. I will not actually ask you any questions about it. You're on the honor roll. You're on the honor system. Okay. So we're going to finish off with some dumb stuff. So Multiversus, which is Warner Brothers Smash Bros. Clone, which is apparently good. Again, I don't play PvP, so I don't know. But apparently it's a good game. But one kind of sticking point was that Velma, the Scooby-Doo character, one of her special moves was she called the cops on you. Homework and the honor system don't work well. Well, they only don't work well if you don't follow the honor system. Are you saying you're not following the honor system, Hazama? I won't check, but if you're saying you're not following it, the issue is that she calls the cops, right? And inside the Scooby-Doo universe, yeah, funny, makes sense. Outside of that, where they have her like calling the cops on Kobe Bryant, hasn't got a good look to it, you know. So they've changed it, basically. They changed it so now she calls the Mystery Machine, the Scooby-Doo van. That's all. It's just a very stupid thing to have to change, but here we are. This is how, when characters that are in, we'll say, a more wholesome universe like Scooby-Doo get pitted into like the internet at large, this kind of thing happens, and teething issues. But it's a funny thing that has to happen. Anyway, I'm gonna leave Steel Rising to move in the background. Anyway, that was our weekly news recap for September 5th to the 11th, 2022. So some stuff coming out of Disney. Marvel Midnight Suns has got a proper release date again. It was meant to come out in March of this year and was delayed multiple times, and it's now coming out in December of this year. Disney Dreamlight Valley did come out this week, and it is also getting more updates. It's technically in early access, but I think you can more or less think of it as a proper release. The Captain America Black Panther game, again, it's by Amy Hennig. It does feel like it's going to be an action-adventure type thing, like Uncharted. Like, it's what she's known for. It's probably why she was hired in the first place. So I would imagine it will play something similar to it. The 4 playable characters, and they are playable characters, it is mentioned, so it's not like Uncharted where, yes, there's a big cast, but you only ever play as Nathan Drake. think the idea is you will be playing as Captain America, Black Panther, and the other 2 unnamed characters. How that will work, I don't know. We just don't know enough about the game right now. Ubi Forward, most of it was pre-rendered CG. It was actually very little gameplay. The only real gameplay there was the Mario and Rabbids bit of gameplay. It just seems like it plays exactly like the other Mario and Rabbids games. Important. It would have been nice to have seen some of the new Assassin's Creed gameplays. Assassin's Creed Mirage in particular, I would just like to see how close to the original game it plays. Like, how close does it play to Assassin's Creed 1, Assassin's Creed 2? Because that is allegedly what they're going for, and I would just like to see it. The other Assassin's Creeds are obviously fairly far out. It's going to be a while before we actually see anything from them. Assassin's Creed Red, the Japanese one, or Assassin's Creed Hex, the potentially horror one. I think it's going to be a while before we see anything. They only have very basic placeholder stuff right now. And then Cyberpunk, it's good that it's still being supported, because I would have almost expected that they would have just gone, you know what, we fucked up, we're just gonna move on and go. But it's good that they're like, yeah, we'll keep going, we'll keep supporting it. So good for them. New releases, Steel Rising, we played on the channel. You can check out the VOD. It was okay. I need to play more of it before I can give a proper definitive idea of how I felt about it. Splatoon will be a pretty big deal. I don't have any particular interest in it myself, but I do recognize it as a decent game. Fuck was the third game? Forgotten already. Oh, the Tomorrow People, yes. Again, another interesting PvE, P and P? Because you're working with people as well? I don't know. Because I don't think there's any... I don't think there's any direct competition with another player. I think you're all just working together to make the area better. But anyway, I don't know what you call that. Online collaboration, I suppose. Industry bullshit. There wasn't a whole lot, really. I think a lot of people are still recovering from Gamescom and various other showcases that they've had. But there's some good stuff there about Ubisoft, you know, ahead of their Ubisoft Forward event, just to get the kind of... Yes, you're getting all of the ads for upcoming games, but then you're also getting the, you know, this is how the company actually runs and so on. PvP as you're struggling against other people to play normally. Yeah, okay, that's probably that as well. That's more PvT. That's player versus troll. I don't know. We have to come up with all sorts of new acronyms for these. That's not an acronym. Is it an acronym? Yes. An acronym is when you can make it a word. So no, it's not an acronym. An initialism is when it's just like FBI is an initialism, but NASA is an acronym. Anyway, moving on away from English. What else was I talking about? Chucklefish, yeah, increasing their pay. Like, it's good that they're doing it, but on the other hand, the reason they're having to do it is because inflation is so shit right now in Europe. It's not great. It's not a good... We're not in a good space here right now. Let's put it that way. Obviously, we're not like being bombarded by missiles or whatever, but economically, that is having knock-on effects to people's daily lives because they can't afford. They have to decide, do I pay for my food or do I pay for my energy bill? And it's like, right now, not a big deal because it's relatively still mild here, so you don't really have to worry too much about heating, but winter is coming and so on. Yeah, I don't remember the rest of it. I only just talked about it, but I don't remember it. Anyway, that was the weekly news, but what's coming up on the channel later this week? So here is our current mosaic. So this week we did start Returnal. So we started a bit of Returnal with Melwin. I'm very rusty, and Melwin has never played the game before, so you can imagine it probably didn't go particularly well. Hopefully this week it'll go better. Wednesday, we continued with the council. We're actually pretty close to the end of it now, I think. And it's also some pretty big revelations in that last stream. I won't, spoilers for anyone who wants to go and watch it, so I won't divulge, but some things have changed. Chess pieces have been revealed, and so on. It turns out he had an entire extra row of chess pieces that we didn't even know about. Thursday, as I say, we played Steel Rising. You can have a look at that on the channel. The VOD is up over on YouTube, and I think it's still on Twitch if you want to check that out too. There was no stream on Friday. I had D&D. Saturday, we continued Xenoblade Chronicles 2, so yesterday, and I think I might play more of it today because the story has stopped at a very difficult point, and I don't want to wait till next week to find out what happens. So I might play that later on today. If I have time, I don't know. Keep an eye on your notifications, I suppose. It may or may not happen. And then we're back around to weekly news recap. So what's happening this week? So this week, we're going to play more Returnal. So tomorrow, myself and Melwyn will go back to Atropos with Celine and the other Celine and try to get through the first biome again. So we got all the way to the first boss and got like 3 runs, I think. I was so close to killing the boss. Like twice I've been so close to killing, and I've killed them before, no problem. So it's clearly that I am very rusty on the game. But anyway, we'll be back to doing that on Monday. Wednesday, the council, again, as I said, there has been some serious story changes and revelations in the last while, and we are into the last episode. It was an episodic game when it came out. We're into the last episode now, and looking at this now, that's probably where we're going because I haven't seen that yet. So that's probably where we're going this week. It'll be a fun one. We'll see what's happening. Some shit's been going down anyway. Thursday. So Thursday, as I've said, I want to keep time for A Plague Tale Requiem that's coming out later this year, so I'm not going to start a new Let's Play until that happens. So in the meantime, I'm just going to be doing one-shots on Thursdays and Fridays. So this one, it was Steel Rising last week. This week it's going to be The Voice of Cards, The Beasts of Burden, that was only announced last week. It was announced last week and they're like, lol, it's coming out now, basically. So we're going to check that out. We have had a look at the last 2 Voice of Cards on the channel. I streamed The Forsaken Maiden a little while ago, and there is a pre-recorded video for the Isle Dragon Roars, because I wasn't streaming at the time. I was doing pre-recorded videos over on YouTube, and there's still plenty of them over there if you want to check them out. Anyway, we'll be looking at the latest Voice of Cards game. These are written by, or not necessarily written by, but they're overseen by Yoko Taro, who's probably best known for Nier. He writes good shit, so I'd be interested to see how this plays out. So we'll be checking that out on Thursday, and on Friday I don't have D&D this time, so we're going to take a look at the Deofield? Don't know. The Deofield Chronicle, which is a bit Final Fantasy Tactics, a little bit XCOM, a little bit Triangle Strategy, and so on. So we're going to have a look at the demo, because the full game isn't actually out yet. The full game won't be out until the week after that. But I basically want to see if I even want to get the full game. So we're going to play the demo. I haven't played the demo yet, so we'll have a go at that. It is apparently a fairly lengthy one, so it should keep us going for most of the stream. We'll have a look at that. Can we get some gameplay? Yeah, so this is the kind of thing. It's a top-down strategy type deal. It's not grid-based, which will be very interesting, which means it probably plays a bit more like Fire Emblem. Never knew you played the Saboteur back in 2014. Yeah, God, that was a lengthy Let's Play. That was a very lengthy Let's Play. It was one of my earliest ones too. But yeah, we'll be taking a look at the Deofield Chronicle, the demo, on Friday, and then Saturday, continuing Xenoblade Chronicles. Again, I may play some of it today, but it is a very lengthy game, so we will have more to play. No matter how much I play today, we will have more to play on Saturday. So yeah, we're in a pretty precarious position story-wise, which is why I really want to play it before next week, so I can, I don't know. It's like basically it's like being on a cliffhanger, pretty much. Only I haven't played the game before, so I don't know what's coming. I would have subjected all of you to a cliffhanger. I will not subject myself to a cliffhanger. I want to know what fucking happens. So yeah, I may or may not get around to playing this today. Hopefully I will, because I want to know what happens. Anyway, I'll leave that to run. I ought to finish my second playthrough of Saboteur or Xenoblade. Yeah, let's leave Deofield to run. Anyway, that is our channel update then for this week. So tomorrow, Returnal with Melwyn, co-op. Tuesday I have D&D. Wednesday, the Council. Probably we will finish it. hopefully. I can't imagine there's more than one stream left on that. Thursday, Voice of Cards, The Beast of Burden, which is a JRPG card game. And this version of it, I think, has a little bit of Pokemon in it. Friday, the Diofield Chronicle demo, which is, as we saw, a bit Fire Emblem, a bit XCOM. Saturday, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, continuing. I have no idea how far I am in the game. I thought I was halfway. I don't know. I need to check. I really do. And then Sunday, we'll be back to the Weekly News Recap. Oh, Saboteur. Okay. Yeah, that's a long game. I platinumed it as well. Never again. Absolutely never again. I was dreading doing that Let's Play as well. Because I was like, I want to do a Let's Play of Saboteur. But also, that game took me forever to finish. And I remember why now, because getting the platinum means you have to destroy every little bit of scenery in that game. And it took a million years. Whereas, if you just played the game, the story, basically, which is what I did on the channel, it's not so bad. Anyway, that's it for me for today. Maybe you might see me later for Xenoblade Chronicles. Otherwise, see you guys tomorrow for Returnal. Thanks for dropping in, Anarchazama, and anyone who's hanging out in the chat, lurking in the chat as well. If you want to check out VODs of any of the games we played last week, there's plenty of them over on YouTube, youtube.com/DoomTrain5. You can also find my Saboteur playthrough there as well, if you want to check that out, as Anarchazama has pointed out. If you're watching this on YouTube, I typically broadcast live from Twitch now these days, so it's twitch.tv/DoomTrain5 if you want to check that out too. And then Twitter. For whatever reason. I don't know. I don't tweet very much, but whenever I'm there, I'm on Twitter. Anyway, I'm going to head off. Have a good one, everybody. And maybe I'll see you later for Xenoblade. Maybe not. Bye-bye.